Ethan Turner had a life that most would envy. He was a successful lawyer with a picture-perfect family, a house in the suburbs, and a steady stream of accomplishments that painted a story of triumph. But when everything fell apart, it felt like the world had swallowed him whole. It started with a mistake, a slip-up in a major case that cost his firm millions. The fallout was swift. His reputation was shredded, and clients dropped him like a sinking stone. His wife, Jenna, unable to bear the constant tension, left with their 2 children. In 1 year, Ethan went from the top of the world to its lowest pit. The house was sold to pay off debts, his friends disappeared, and all that remained was a heap of regrets and broken promises. Ethan found himself alone in a small apartment, a man without a purpose. Each day blurred into the next, a repetitive cycle of watching time slip by without any sense of direction. His mind, once sharp and filled with ambition, had become a hollow echo of his former self, but somewhere deep inside him a spark remained. It was a cold, gray morning when Ethan received a letter that would change the course of his life. It was from an old mentor, someone he hadn't heard from in years, Marcus Caldwell, a retired attorney who had taken him under his wing when Ethan first started out. The letter was simple, almost cryptic. "Ethan, if you're reading this, it's because I know you've lost your way. But there's more to life than the things we lose. There's a way back, but it starts with your choice. Let me show you how." At first, Ethan thought it was just another pity letter from a well-meaning old friend, but something about it tugged at him. Maybe it was the words, "There's more to life than the things we lose," or maybe it was the realization that he was tired of being a victim to his circumstances. So he packed a bag and drove to Marcus's cabin in the mountains. Marcus welcomed him like no time had passed. The cabin, surrounded by towering pines, was simple but warm, a stark contrast to the high-rise buildings Ethan had grown used to. For the next few weeks, Marcus didn't offer sympathy or advice. He simply lived alongside Ethan, showing him a life not defined by wealth, status, or titles. They woke early, chopping wood, fishing in the nearby lake, and talking about things that had little to do with the law. Marcus spoke of the importance of patience, of the peace found in nature, and of the strength that comes from failure, not in spite of it. "You can't control everything, Ethan," Marcus told him one evening by the fire. "But you can control who you become after the fall. That's where the real victory is." Ethan's mind began to shift. His hands, once bound to a briefcase and courtroom papers, grew calloused from work. His heart, once full of ambition and pride, began to mend, finding a quieter strength in small, everyday tasks. He started to realize that his past wasn't a weight holding him down. It was the foundation of who he was becoming. Chapter 4. Rebuilding. When the time came for Ethan to leave, he wasn't the same man who had arrived. He didn't have a job waiting for him, nor did he have the safety net of wealth to fall back on. But he had something more valuable, a sense of purpose. Ethan returned to the city with a new outlook on life. He took a job at a local nonprofit, helping underprivileged children navigate the justice system. It wasn't the prestigious law firm he'd once dreamed of, but it gave him a sense of fulfillment he hadn't known before. The road was not easy. There were days when the old temptations crept back, the desire for success, for recognition, for the things he had lost. But he resisted. Every time he felt like giving up, he thought back to the lessons Marcus had taught him. The real victory is in who you become after the fall. And slowly, he began to rebuild, not just his career, but his sense of self. He earned back the trust of his children, one moment at a time. He built new relationships grounded in authenticity, not status. His world, once defined by material wealth, was now rich with meaning and connection. Chapter 5. The Gift. Years later, Ethan stood in a courtroom again, not as a lawyer but as a mentor, speaking to a group of young men and women who had lost their way, just as he once had. As he looked into their faces, he saw himself, the man who had lost everything but had found his way back, stronger for the struggle. He wasn't rich, at least not in the way he once imagined, but he was something far more valuable, content, fulfilled, and finally, at peace. Ethan's story had come full circle, not through the pursuit of wealth or power, but through the quiet, steady work of rebuilding what truly mattered: character, connection, and resilience. And as he stepped down from the podium, he knew with certainty that the greatest thing he had gained in the end was the realization that losing everything had given him the chance to gain everything good.